Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Super-Fanta-Fi. This being a show where I talk about TV shows of the supernatural, fantasy, and/or science fictional genre. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the latest episodes of the Shannara Chronicles. Great episodes, obviously, like I said, episodes because it's back-to-back episodes this week too, but both great episodes. A lot of stuff went down these episodes, so I'm going to try and keep some stuff straight in my head, but I'm sure I'm just going to end up talking about the episodes all together, so it's just probably all going to get blurred together, so I'm not probably going to break it down episode by episode, because I don't know, that's just how I kind of tend to do these things anyway. But nevertheless, for one, we had the whole situation with Amberle. Yep, it is confirmed. Amberle is dead, which sucks so much. It's like, that broke my heart. I was like, why, Amberle, why? And I brought it up before too. It's like, he's the last of the royal family, until Will pointed something out that I never thought about before. It's like, oh, technically Meredith is the next in line to become, queen of Amberle. It's like, oh yeah, because she is Pyria's daughter, who Pyria is the sister of the king, so she has claim to the throne. But the question is, because the question going ahead for is, will she actually take it? Because, I'm getting way ahead of myself with all this, but I'm going to try and break everything down. But, obviously the whole point is she's next in line to become a druid, which I'm not surprised about. I felt like that from the very beginning. It's like, you happen to be Alanon's daughter the moment the markings started disappearing, the runes. I was like, yeah, it's because she's next in line, because it's supposed to be him passing it along. Which it seems like that's more so about Alanon, not necessarily. It's coinciding. She's getting the more runes because she's destined to become the next druid, but it's also because he's dying. Because the whole aspect of he would be in this state if he went to sleep into the druid sleep after the fight with the Dagmar a year ago, but he didn't. He kept on going. It's almost, I think it's a situation of because the moment the runes all disappear, also goes all of his magic. So I'm thinking that when it's all said and done, it's going to be a situation he becomes human. I think, because we saw it a little bit when Bandon was with him. He's like, you're dying, aren't you? Because they aren't immortal. And I think, basically in this state, life is catching up to him. You have this immortality type of thing going on. But because he's in a state he's in, his life is basically draining away. So I don't know if there's any reversing it at this point in time. Because he avoided going to sleep, his powers are fading. And I think it's irreversible, possibly. Which kind of sucks, because the whole reason why Meredith went to so much trouble to save Alanon in the first episode in particular was going into that dreamscape, even willing to sacrifice herself to do it, it's because that's her dad. It's just they just started their relationship. It's a little rocky at the start, sure, but that's still her dad nonetheless. It's also interesting too, because it's we end up finding out she could read Druid because of the whole love letter situation that Alanon wrote to Pyria, which even Will comments on. It's kind of weird thinking of Alanon being Mr. Romantic. But even before being a druid, he is a person. He does have feelings. He doesn't show it a lot of times, which is an aspect that comes with the whole druid heritage, the whole thing of being a druid. And I think, honestly, you could tell Alanon didn't want that for her, because when he went to that special water that's sacred to the druids, which I thought was kind of interesting. I like that world. That's the whole reason why he didn't come back immediately from his illness, is because it's because he knew he needed to be on the borderline of death to meet up with Bremen, his mentor, again, because that's what happened last season too. So, but it also seems because the way Alanon was acting, that he didn't want that, because it's obviously he had the hardest time believing the whole aspect of Meredith being his daughter. But I have thought for a while, it's got to be also to the fact that he wouldn't want that life for anyone else. That life as a druid cost him everything, and it's something he explains to Meredith. It's once you fall down this path, destiny is harsh. You cut off all ties. You seem very cold-hearted. That's why he seems very disconnected from people. He makes the decisions he makes. It's because he has to make those hard decisions as the druid. You can't let feelings interfere with what is destiny, what is what is for the greater good. So decisions about keeping Will in the dark about Amberle, and just willing to let Flick die because of that whole situation, then it's you understand it a little bit more, and why he left Pyria all those years, why he's a little distant toward Meredith, because love is a weakness. And so that's what it's supposed to be, stealing yourself so that you can face what's ahead of you. So, but that means this is her calling, which means she might not be queen of Amberle, considering the fact is that she has to also be a druid. So not less when it's all said and done, she becomes queen, and then eventually she takes up the mantle of druid while if they make it so that Alanon stays around, maybe he can continue her training while she's queen, so that she can one day embrace that dude. I don't know. It's kind of hard to say like where they're going to go with that, because it doesn't seem like she can be one or the like either she's going to be queen or she's going to be a druid. So, and then immediately my brain goes, well, not unless we make an interesting thing. Like I'm like, well, she's the only one who could be on the throne. It's like, but possibly Will could, not just because like she has the royal blood in her veins, but Will in particular, he's the Shannara, so that might gain him the throne for whatever reason. Which I'm sure Will kind of like, me, a king, what? No, So also that whole situation reminds me of the whole Anders situation, getting disrespected, his body thrown off that dam, which is sad because that his friend that he ended up pushing off there too. It's almost like it's sad that they both ended up in that same spot. It's like that sucked. I was hoping like something happens, like the moment like Tellman, Slanter, and Jax had to surrender. I was like, yeah, like there's no like getting him help. It's like they made sure to show you last episode he was dead. But I always with situations like that, I'm always hoping, because it sucks that the royal family has literally been reduced to that, like Meredith being the only one. Because the fact of the matter is she never actually got to meet the rest of her family. Like Alanon's the only one she got to know, so that's her dad. She never got to really know her mom's side of the family. What many people left to know anyway. Which it's weird when you actually think about it even more. That even adds a weird element to it, because it's like, doesn't that make her and Amberle cousins? I'm too lazy to really think about the whole family tree situation here, but they're both being in love with the whole Will situation. It's funny to me when you actually think about that. It's like, huh? Because I thought that's kind of nice too. What Eritrea was like, I've seen that look before. You're not the only woman that's ever fallen for Will Almsford. And it's just like, is it wrong for me that I'm kind of jealous of a tree? And it's just like, it sucks, dude. Because that was also something that Alanon was getting on about too. It's like, as a druid, you cannot be attached to people. Like also because of the whole, like, you don't age the same way. Like she will outlive everyone she cares about anyway. So that's extra more reason to kind of keep your distance, because ultimately you will always end up alone. The life of a druid is solitude. So, but, to me, it might be a situation where Meredith might find a different way. That might be her path. She might be able to see it a different way to be a druid, that you don't have to cut yourself off from people, that's not the life that a druid has to live. Maybe not. I don't know. We'll just kind of have to wait and see. Also, I've never commented on before. Freaking druids and those swords, man. Those are so cool. Just to kind of like, because now, Meredith has one too, that just kind of like, the blade just like pops up. Like, I was like, that's so cool. Druids get all the cool stuff. Other things that went down in this episode, you had Queen Tamlin dying. That super, especially for her, because she made sure the last thing she said to Lyria was like, I love you, I've always loved you. Because ultimately, and it's something I brought up last episode too, you can tell like she legitimately cares about her daughter. It's like she hasn't always shown it. It seems like you're kind of a terrible person. You're kind of basically pimping your daughter out, and even then it's like, it's not like you giving, like her and Anders' marriage was supposed to be of something beautiful. It was more so a tactical advantage for you could eventually get Arbalon. But ultimately, everything she's ever done, good and bad, has always been for the sake of her people as well as her daughter, for her daughter's future and her people's future. And it's just, it's just that moment of just like, life gets put in perspective when it's the end, because no one ever knows it's the end until the end is approaching, and then it really starts hitting you. And for her, she asked Jax to promise to protect Lyria. But I love her kind of giving Rigo one last middle finger, because instead of letting him get the pleasure of pushing her off, she walked off, just showing like, hey, you're not going to get like satisfaction doing. You even see a look on his face like he was frustrated by it. It's like, good, you piece of crap. Like this, like everything, like he has added to the problems this season, that piece of crap. Which obviously I'll go ahead and skip to it. He's dead now. Kind of wasn't expecting him to die the way he did. That was pretty brutal. Like, because I brought it up before, I thought he was going to be the body for the Shadow Lord, but the Warlock Lord. Where am I getting Shadow Lord from? That's from something else, but I can't place where that's from. Shadow Lord. Nevertheless, I apologize. But the Warlock Lord, which I thought was kind of interesting. I was like, because at first I was like, wait, does he look like Alanon? I was like, what's that supposed to be? It's like, the reason why he looks like that is because Bandon used, Alanon's blood on him. So which means, raised the question, like whoever's blood he used would have been kind of like the physical form that the Warlock Lord would have had. Which begs the question, what did the Warlock Lord look like originally? I guess he can never go back to his original form. I mean, I guess with all his magic and everything, I would assume that he'd take on that form, but I don't know. I just thought it was kind of interesting. I would have, like, because my entire thought was always going to be that Riga was going to be his body. I thought, like, at the end, like, when he killed Riga, I was like, oh, I thought he was going to adopt Riga's, like, you know, appearance. I stumbled on that I had a brain fart right there. Sorry. So I don't know, like, it's kind of like a little like, yeah, but it's also like it's just, I did not expect him to go down like that because he basically went down doing nothing. I love that his men got wiped out so easily. It's like the Warlock Lord drew a line, touched it, evaporated everyone else except for Riga, and he like wrapped him up in the barbed wire, trapped him in the door. I was like, oh my god, you're about to go like almost like Iron Maiden on him. I mean, like the medieval torturing device, not the band, and like crush him like that. I thought that's what was going to happen. It's like, no, he did that just to trap him and then ripped his head off, and it was so slow that you could see like his like neck separating a little bit from the front, like his throat was slit, and just ripped his head off. It's like, part of me is like, there's that sick satisfaction of like, you kind of deserve it for being a piece of crap that you are, killing so many innocent people, killing Ander in particular, but like so many people in your vendetta against magic. And what did it gain you? Nothing. Because people warned you countless times again and again that the fact of the matter is you should be focusing on uniting people instead of trying to tear them apart. And also middle finger to that dude that ratted them out. The one who's like, oh, I lost my hands to the demons. Like, we need to get rid of magic. Magic is the only thing protecting you from demons. Magic is what helped stop demons in the first place. The Elcree situation wouldn't have happened without magic, you know. It's just like, it's so frustrating. It's like people let Riga get in their heads. Like, I get the particular situation you're coming from. I understand what you've lost. And that pain is enough to drive anyone mad. But all it did was bring his ambitions down to nothing. Because, I mean, when you actually break it down in the grand scheme of the show, too, it's like, you didn't even make it to the end of the series. I would have, I mean, at the very least, the end of the season is what I meant to say. I would have expected you at the very least, like, died like the season finale or something like that. It's like, no, you didn't even make it that far, so. I mean, I'm sure the only thing he was there for, he ended up bringing the Codex, so I don't know if that's going to matter to the Warlock Lord. I was about to say Shadow Lord again. I'm trying to, I gotta check it afterwards, like where I'm pulling that from. I don't remember, but nevertheless, you know, so his ambitions came down to that. So it seems like most of the Crimson are dead now. The only ones that are left are the ones that basically at the end of it all are like trying to burn Al-Anon and Marith. And that's kind of a thing in itself too. The fact is that speaks volumes in itself because he wasn't willing to give over the Codex for Will, but he couldn't help it when it came to Marith because that's his daughter. You know, like no matter how cold-hearted he is, that's still his daughter, which I'm not going to fault him for. Like no one's going to fault him for it because it's like the fact of the matter is it also shows that Al-Anon does care, that he pretends like he doesn't. You know, like I said, the whole aspect of like shielding himself off, making himself cold just so that other people don't get dragged into this whole, you know, he's able to do what's necessary, but he just couldn't bring himself to do it, you know, because it was his one and only daughter. It's the only, you know, especially now that Pyrea's gone, that's the only connection he has to the woman that he loved is her. So is Barrett, you know, so it's kind of interesting because this all kind of ties into a conversation that Slanter and Jax had. And basically it's like, yeah, when it's all said and done, what do we have left in this world? We have nothing. Because they built their lives like that, because that way it's like no one's going to miss them when they're gone. Which is super sad. Even Jax points it out. It's like, why live, like, what do our lives amount to? Because all we have left are ghost and regret, you know? Because they don't have family members. It's not like Jax has, like, even the lady that he was, like, her son died. Like, now she hates Jackson. Not like even she would miss him. And, you know, maybe on some level even prior to that, maybe on some level she blamed him for her husband's death. So there's those aspects. And it's just, I think that's also kind of like I'm sure that's something going through his mind when he's thinking about that. Like, legitimately, no one will miss him. I'm sure Eritrea will. I mean, you've kind of grown closer over this time, so. I brought it up earlier really quickly. I'm curious will we ever get back to that world, like the dreamscape where Al-Anon met you with the with his mentor Bremen. I wonder will that ever be something more tapped into the future? Maybe, maybe not. Also, it's kind of interesting too, in a like kind of sad, messed up way. Is like the moment Marith got there, what was she attacked by? A Fury, the same thing that killed her mom back in season one. I guess it was almost like a just it worked out in the end because it's like well Al-Anon saved her, and I guess it's kind of supposed to represent like well he wasn't able to save her mom. It's almost like making up for it now in a sense. It's just kind of interesting that it would take on the form of like the particular monster that would attack her would be a Fury. And I guess it's just because in his mind that's one of his biggest regrets. So I guess that shows you even more that like that's something that he still harbors, that's still there for it to manifest like that. Not less that's just how that world is, but I feel like it's more to it than that. I mean, maybe I'm just overthinking it. Just, maybe that was supposed to be implied. Maybe it's not necessarily what it is, but maybe it's the show creators and writers and everyone being like, kind of give it a wink and a nudge to that. Just make it kind of like a little bit of a small victory in Al-Anon's corner in that certain regard. At the end, though, we do have Slanter and Jax getting away, so they're going to try and meet up with Lyria. Which it also seems like, I haven't talked about it, but the fact of the matter is Lyria is important in this whole equation because it's not only, like, the reason why, because I figured she would kind of be like a price in all of this. Like, I ultimately thought she was going to be the price that, obviously, that the Warlock Lord wanted, but it's like she comes as a package deal because by getting her, he's able to get to the heavens well because she has the key to it, and she herself is also the key to it because she's connected to like her bloodline comes from the king that actually basically created it in the first place, I think, kind of giving magic to the Four Lands. So, and there's a whole situation with Coglin too. The fact is that I don't know. It's just weird to me. He disappeared. Like he popped up a little bit with Eritrea last episode and then just disappeared for a while. Now he's back. I don't know. There's part of me hesitant about it, but I don't know. Maybe it's just I'm just paranoid about everything. It's just the fact of the matter is Al-Anon's never brought him up. He hasn't come up in conversation. But maybe it's kind of off-screen stuff. But it's never been like, oh yeah, don't worry about Coglin's here. Wait, Coglin. Like, I mean, but then again, he's an ex-druid, which begs the question, how did you walk away from that? Because Al-Anon's dealing with his whole situation, but I guess it's like, I guess that's also kind of what I'm talking about too. Like, Al-Anon I guess when Bremen was talking about your mortal journey ends, maybe he wasn't necessarily talking about the fact is that Al-Anon's just going to outright die. Maybe the situation might be he's lived the rest of his life as a normal human, aging like a normal human. Maybe. While Marith stays the same, and maybe that's why Coglin's still around because he became a normal human afterwards. Or is there more to that? I get the feeling like there's going to be a twist with Coglin's character, but like I said, it might just be me being paranoid. That's why I was like, I'm not 100% okay with Lyria being left in his care. I don't trust him for some reason. I mean, not just the fact is he lied to Eritrea and everything, which is kind of like, well, he has his own reasons for doing that, but it's like, I don't know. It's just like, I feel like Al-Anon would have brought him up at some point in time, but it's like, because he's saying that Marith's the last of the druids, so that makes me think like something's up with him, that he's not really a druid. Maybe he's someone impersonating a former druid. Maybe that's the whole plan or something. I don't know. If that was the case, why would he wait this long to come out and, not less that really was Coglin at the beginning of the season and that this is someone else, an imposter disguise. I don't know. Another thing, a little nod that I appreciate, it says, it's kind of a bittersweet thing. It's the fact is that when Eritrea meets up with the Chosen and saves them later, at one point in the second episode, you do notice that quite a few, I think most of the Chosen were girls. So it's like, obviously, like what Amberle did has set a precedent to the point, like it's like all the other Chosen, like girls, because remember Amberle was the first female to ever, run the gauntlet to become a Chosen, so and that was just kind of a nice touch. It wasn't something that it wasn't like slapping you in the face. It's just kind of a wink and a nod. I thought that was kind of like nice, when you think, anyway, we do have that sad situation though that Eritrea trying to keep away that Moray ends up being possessed by, because, obviously the Warlock Lord has returned and everything, so I'm sure it was more powerful than she could handle, so she ended up getting possessed, and it seems like she ended up killing all the other Chosen. I wonder, was that just for the sake of, like, they need to die, or is it like they could potentially be a problem going forward? Do you need them wiped out so that the Elcrease is less protected or something? I don't know. which is a big part of this episode. Well, both episodes. It's the fact is that Will has to go see Amberle in the Elcrease, which to him is like, I've tried to talk to her forever and ever, like in the past year, but nothing ever happened. It's like, well, that's because you weren't called upon. Now that you have been called upon, you will be let in. So it's kind of it's a situation which I really appreciate, because it's like Will basically kind of has to go through what Amberle went through in season 1. Basically, you have to face your truth, because I liked how they represented it too. You had the Elcrease like era. Amberle, the one that she met back near the end of season 1, the one that was telling her this is your destiny. That Amberle, and then there's also the one that we know, like the real Amberle to a certain extent, and it would cut back and forth between the two, because obviously the Elcrease. Amberle is more like, okay, this is your destiny, and the other Amberle talked to Will. It's like, and it's like, I never really took the time to really think about just like all that he felt. I knew he was sad, but it also like he's angry too, because it's like, you didn't tell me. You never got to say goodbye. Like, you just did this without consulting me. You didn't tell me anything. You just left me alone. Like, she understands what he's going through, but it's like, you don't really, like, you know, to him, it's almost like, you don't know what I went through all this time. Like, I loved you, and I still love you. Plus, at the same time, it's like, he doesn't believe he's the hero that the Four Lands needs. He saw what he saw, and he's like, that was the truth. But the fact is, there is more to the truth than you think, you know? So it's kind of a similar thing, because for Amberle to make the choice that she made, she had to let go of Will. She couldn't let anything stand in the way. Like in the beginning, when she took that trial, she ended up killing Will inside to prove that she was right for the job, that it really was her to be chosen. Is the fact is that she would have to let him go. Like, she couldn't let her feelings get away, which kind of reflects at the end, like when she has to confront the fact is that she has to become the new Elcrease. So it kind of works hand in hand with Will, because Will has to confront everything too. Because if he meets with his dad, who's like, I know, like, you don't want this, but the fact of the matter is you have to accept your destiny. Don't end up like me, because you're a much stronger person than me. The reason why I died alone and I was drunk all the time was because I couldn't handle it. I couldn't make the sacrifice that was needed for me to make. Because the fact is, for him, it's like every day he lived was him living in regret. And that's something that Flick had brought up at the beginning, closer to the beginning of the season, because it's like, for him, it's like, it's not magic that killed your dad or drove him crazy. It was just regret with everything that went down. Because to him, it's like, it's almost kind of similar to the whole Drew situation of kind of letting things go. He was too afraid. I think ultimately he was too afraid to, like, it seems like it might be a situation where you might have to sacrifice your own life to bring this all to an end, possibly. And he didn't want to leave Hetty, or, you know, lose the potential to, you know, eventually have Will in his life. And that regret is what led to him just being all alone in the end. So, but it's not just that. Will also had to deal with the fact is that Amberle was kind of holding him back, in a sense of like, because he has to let her go, realizing that she's gone and that there is no coming back for her, which even I'm kind of like, I don't know if that's 100% true. Like, I mean, it seems like they set it up to be like, yeah, there is no, because that was kind of my thought. I was like, oh, could they find a way to bring her back or something like that? But it seems like, no, the whole point is for her to, like, for him to let her go. So he's found his truth, because it's like, now he's ready potentially to face the Warlock Lord, because now the Shannara blade, because I also like what they did too, because obviously you had it, he threw it and it landed in the sand. Like, the next time he picked it up, you would kind of expect the moment he pulled it out of the sand that the blade would be whole. I was expecting that, but then I was like, well, you haven't faced the other thing that you need to face, and that's Amberle. He loved her, but the fact is she's going and she's never coming back. But I don't know, there's a part of me still wondering, is that 100% true or not? We're just gonna have to wait and see. Which of me in my brain goes, that does mean that there could be a Meredith and Will, which then that gets complicated too, because it's like, now Will's kind of confronting the fact that he definitely has feelings for her, because it's like, you know, I saw Eritrea and Alanon, and then you had Amberle being like, Meredith. And he kind of paused, but it's like, it's there, and obviously Mara feels the same, but now they've got both their destinies, him as the hero, the savior, the Shannara, and her as potentially a druid, potentially a queen. There's a lot going on there, so it's like, that's definitely going to interfere. Obviously things get worse, because we see that, you know, with the whole Eritrea being possessed situation, so... And it seems like it's not like a situation of her like being possessed and being unaware that thing has control over her. Because she wakes up with blood on her hand. She's like, oh yeah, this is Crimson. Yep, they got away. It's not like I don't remember I blacked out or something like that. So that's definitely gonna be interesting going forward. And the final thing I also want to tackle is the whole situation with the Shadow. I did it again. It's literally the third time I did it. The Warlock Lord is the fact is of the whole him and Bandon situation. I didn't see that Catania situation turning out the way it did. It's like, I need you to bring her back to life. And I was like, oh, is he going to have in some weird twisted way his own happily ever after? Because it's like, okay, I will serve you if you bring her back. But then he twisted around. And it's like, nope. And like he ends up doing something to her. I was like, because her eyes shifted and stuff like that. And he's like, oh, and he has her like touching all over him and everything. And it's like, wow, I wasn't expecting that. And he flipped Bandon the bird hard. But the whole thing was a test. Because basically, the moment he heard Bandon be like, oh, she's the only woman I've ever loved for the I need to stop. I did it again. I almost did it again. The Warlock Lord saw that love was there, and it's like, that's your weakness. It's kind of interesting that both the Warlock Lord looking like Al-Anon, and Al-Anon himself kind of saying that love can kind of be a weakness and everything. And you have, him having Bandon kill Catania. I was almost like, oh my God, is she going to be back? But she going to be back as something else? I mean, she did say the words like she'd rather die than be with him after everything that he's done, all that he's become. Because I think that little bit right there was I need to slap myself in the face. I keep doing that, and I don't know why. The Warlock Lord was trying to snip out that little bit of light that was still in him. Because Bandon, Catania was the only woman that he's ever really loved. She was the only person he ever really got close to. And for Al-Anon also said it himself that like there was still time for Bandon to go back. And I think this was kind of that moment of like, oh, potentially he could go back from here because he has that love to kind of push him away. But now it's like that love has been sullied to make him realize, no, it's a weakness. So he ends up killing Catania, which I'm sure she would have preferred anyway, because it didn't seem like she was in control. She wasn't even herself at that moment. So, because I thought like he was going to bring her back and maybe her and Bandon would be together working under the Warlock Lord and be... Because I was curious what they were going to do with that whole situation, but it was like, no, it's just a means to closing off Bandon's heart, which we don't know if that's 100% true, because there could be like, we don't know going forward whether that's going to be a situation where it's like ultimately Bandon will choose the right side of things. But even if he does, can it make up for all the bad he's done anyway? Or is he 100% going that there's no saving him at this point in time? We will just have to wait and see, because next week is technically, I'll go ahead and say the season finale. It's really like episode 9 and episode 10. I kind of had a feeling I had to make sure, because I was like, well, they did 2 back-to-back episodes 2 weeks in a row, so I felt like it had to be like next week as well. So next week's episode will be the last 2 episodes of the season, and I'm very interested to see what goes on, like how this whole season comes to a conclusion, especially with everything the way it is, like Al-Anon and Marith being in the situation that they're in. Like I said, also the whole where Marith lies in this whole situation, Queen, Druid, what Will fits into all that. Obviously, the Eritrea situation, because Will saw what happened to well, it's also kind of his vision coming true, them being in their respective situations, and like we see her. Well, the fact of the matter is, she had eyes like the red Moraith, but it was like a regular Moraith that's inside of her. So I'm curious to see what all goes down next episode, especially because Bandon's been sent after Lyria, which Jax is going to protect. I wonder will Slanter go with him or not, too, with this whole thing. So, overall, great episodes. A lot of good development went down in all of this. So, but really, that's all I want to talk about in this episode. To the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.